Going up is one of the most important things in Tears of the Kingdom. From the Sky Islands to the dungeons and shrines, so much in this game is focused on moving vertically. But how many different ways are there to move up? Well, that's the question my friend Celio Spring and I decided to answer. We came up with a total of 69 different methods, ranging from things as simple as walking to one of the most powerful movement glitches in the game. But let's start with a simple one. Ascend. Ascend is one of the 4 basic abilities that you get from the shrines on the Great Sky Island. It allows you to go straight through almost any material that is directly above you. The next method is getting knocked up by enemies. This doesn't happen with all monsters, but generally when a monster does an extra powerful attack, you end up gaining at least some upward momentum. Updrafts can be found in a few places in the game, such as the Colgera boss fight around dragons or this floating sphere Sky Island. These are fairly simple, pushing you upwards when using a paraglider. Towers are also fairly simple. When you stand at the bottom of one and press A, you get launched extremely far into the air. When you are riding on a dragon, they will sometimes move upwards to avoid terrain obstacles like mountains. Climbing is another extremely simple one. While climbing is very versatile, it is also very slow, so if you need to get to the top of something in a hurry, I would recommend using a Zonai device. There are 3 types of Zonai devices that can help move you upwards: the fan, rocket, and hot air balloon. The fan pushes you when attached to a steering stick or wing. The rocket can be attached to other platforms to allow you to stand on it, or attached to a shield to give you a quick boost into the air. And the hot air balloon rises into the air when it comes into contact with any heat source. When you get onto Minoru, you move up to the very top of the construct. This can be useful to gain bullet time from just about anywhere by jumping off and pulling out a bow. Going up a hill, walking over large objects or ledges gives you this stepping animation. When Link cooks an extra good meal, he jumps into the air a little bit. On some Sky Islands, you can find these pillars that will launch you to a different Sky Island if you stand on them. If you raise an object into the air with Ultra Hand or push it off a ledge and then stand on it, using Recall will allow you to get carried back up along with it. When you use Fast Travel, the animation where you get all blue and stringy raises you into the air. When you get attacked by Gloom Hands, they grab you and hold you in the air. When Link rides on a horse, he bounces up and down. Putting on a big hat raises the top of Link's head, so I'm going to count it. When you go to sleep, you technically don't see Link get into the bed, but unless he just sleeps on the floor next to it all night, I think it's reasonable to assume his feet left the ground. In Kitawak Shrine, there's this giant stone slab with hinges that automatically raises itself up as long as there's nothing attached to it. When a Great Fairy upgrades gear to the maximum level, she picks Link up. Using Rivali's Gale. During a Molduga fight, it burrows under the ground before jumping up, launching you high into the air. Number 25. At Terrytown, there's this makeshift rail system that brings you back up to the main town area from the Zonai Device Research Facility. The minecart on the Sky Island can be taken back up the track using a fan. If you attach a rocket to Minoru's back, it works like a jetpack for about 4 seconds. Stunning a Lionel with a headshot allows you to mount it like a horse. In the Water Temple, there are these floating balls of water that slowly move upward. Speaking of water, when you jump into it, Link goes under for a little bit before resurfacing, which technically means you go up. In Mayatat Shrine, there's this sand in this big open area that slowly moves back towards the start. While this doesn't seem like it helps us initially, the edge of the sand pit is at an angle, which means that if we jump into the sand and wait for it to bring us back to the start, it pushes us up a tiny bit. Then, in the Temple of Time, there are these gears that we can stand on to gain a bit of height. Next up is fast traveling to a higher point on the map. This one seems like it should be fairly quick to explain, but I started wondering, what is the farthest vertical distance you can travel, and how fast do you move? To test this, I needed to find an extremely high place to teleport to and an extremely low place to teleport from. The highest point of land in the game is the star-shaped island at an altitude of 3,000 meters right above Lookout Landing. I built a flying machine to make it up to the island and placed a travel medallion at the very top of it. Then I went to the lowest point in the game, the depths below Hyrule Castle. I climbed down as far as I could on this tree root thing to a depth of 2,500 meters. Then I teleported to the medallion and timed it. It took exactly 29.2 seconds between me hitting the teleport button and Link being fully reformed on the Sky Island. Dividing the total distance traveled by the time gives us 288 meters per second of vertical speed. speed. But wait, we aren't done yet. There's one last method to talk about: recall launches. A recall launch is a bug that abuses recall to smack Link really hard, launching him into the air. There are a few different methods to do this, most notably being spears. Spears rotate really fast when you throw them, meaning that by attaching a plank with Ultra Hand and then recalling, you can transfer that speed directly to Link. But an even better method was discovered by YouTuber Paradox Gaming. By using auto build on this special motor from the Gemic Shrine, you can smuggle it out and use it in other builds. Then by building this specific structure and pressing the corner of it onto a ledge, you can get this motor to spin the board absurdly fast, up to around 4,000 RPM. You can then use recall on it, jump on, and get launched unbelievably fast, straight up into the sky. If you get a decent launch, you can make it all the way to height limit in a matter of seconds. At the peak of my best launch, I measured a staggering 430 meters traveled in a single second, far more than that of teleportation. You might be thinking that this is probably super situational and would never be useful in actual gameplay, but the thing is, if you need to get to a high altitude quickly, it's honestly not that bad of an option. It's by far the fastest and most effective method mentioned, and while it isn't super versatile and costs Zonite to use, the Zonite requirement is only 3 above that of the hoverbike, and it doesn't use any power from your energy cells, meaning that even very new players can utilize this. By now you've probably realized that the video is almost over, but I'm only at 35 out of the 69 promised. That's because the other 34 are over on Celios's channel, so once you subscribe, go watch his video for the rest of them.